Bill, can you click that button? Click the OK for the recording. Thank you, sir.
Where people are seeing this head.
Mr. Clerk, if you could read the meeting notice?
This is for the council to meet with the Charter Revision Commission,
Yes.
go over their proposals.
And then if you could just call the roll.
Lulanich,
Here.
Nocera,
Here.
Rautenstrau,
Here.
Mylum,
Here.
Cook.
Here. All right, thank you, Mr. Reese and Commission. The floor is yours.
Probably. About a year ago, in April of 2021, then Mayor Davis set up, formed a charter revision committee to review the current charter that was enacted or voted on in 1996. To look for any ways that we can clean up some items, bring them more into the, to acknowledge that we have technology now and things like that. And then move forward to pick up any areas where we felt that it would be better for the city to have a change and put some clarification there. So the mayor named a 9-person commission, which is required by the state rules. And that was myself, Skip Johnson, former Alderman Tom Spires, former Alderwoman Susan Gregg, former Alderwoman Gail Cypress. George Cook has been on numerous committees over the years and is involved with the Conservative Party. We also had former Treasurer Joseph Hogenkamp was involved, and then we had Brittany Penberthy as our legal advisor, and we had James Gossell was on the commission as the city clerk. So, and Ron Pelosi, a former Alderman and former Mayor Ron Pelosi, now current administrative assistant to Mayor White. So we had and we've had meetings every other week for April to December when we finished. So what we are tasked with and what a commission is tasked with is once you're formed, you can't get off the commission until the commission is closed. And the only way to close a commission is to actually put something on a ballot and have it be voted up or down. When the election happens, the commission's done. And the way we had to work through it is the commission calls on us to examine every part of the charter, even the stuff that is so obvious we wouldn't change it. You know, the name of the city, things like that, but things are there. So we had to go through it every line. So that's why we worked every other week throughout the summer and into the fall to talk about every line, go over each line, talk about if that's something that we need more clarification on, less clarification, something to open it up for more movement to make things easier to conduct city business. And then we also want to look at are there areas where we can try to you know, the key with that is one of the things we were looking at was the office of the treasurer to see if we were better off essentially having the mayor and the council hire as opposed to elect. So that's one reason why myself and the former treasurer were on the commission. And I've been working with Joe on the side, and he's been apprised of everything we've changed. He hasn't had any suggestions, but he hasn't opposed anything either for what we were talking about. So we sat down, we went through everything, and we came up with a list of in the end, we didn't make that many changes. I have a summary in each of your folders. Just kind of going over the true things that we changed. In section one is our definitions and you know, it just kind of lays out what a city is, that was the area where legal stepped in and said it's a little messy the way we had it back in '96. She just wanted to break it up into separate sections for definitions. We didn't change any definitions. We just made it cleaner, clearer, easier to read, more on what a current construct would be. So that was section one. We didn't change wards. We didn't change that we're a city inside the borders of a town. We didn't change the number of wards or anything else. It was just clarifying and bringing it to a more modern structure that can be codified. When we got to section two, that included the office of the mayor. We didn't really change much there either. We added some clarification and we just wanted to get into a little more modernization. So in that, we felt it was important that we specified that in addition to contracts having to be authorized by the common council, that contracts also include letters or memorandums of understanding, any form of letter that could be construed to be contractual. So just because it's not a contract doesn't absolve the mayor of still having to go out and get the same permissions if the council feels it was truly something that was contractual. So if you're indebting the city, if you're contracting the city into a liability or an action, that is something that you have to at least apprise the council of and ask for guidance on that. And then if you can't sell the council on it, don't do it. We went one step farther when it came to labor negotiations. That's where we actually made the changes. We added that during labor negotiations, the city attorney shall be given a chance to be in the meeting or their designee. And that designee might very well be a labor lawyer that the city hires to negotiate contracts. That is up to the city attorney, but the city attorney, it just clarifies that the city attorney has not a seat at the table to be part of negotiations, but a seat at the table to be able to advise the mayor if he's stepping outside the rules that the council has laid down or that the city charter and rules are. So in the instance of if there's something out there that would bind the city to an agreement, even though it's not a contract, we wanted the city attorney to have an opportunity to be in the room to be able to advise the mayor that you might want to stop because after you move to this point, you might be actually contracting the city, even though it's not a contract, it'd be an MOU or some other letter of understanding. So we added that, and then that would be incumbent on the city attorney to be aware of when the meetings are, and then either assign someone, be there themselves, or say, I'm fine with not being there. But if something were to come up, it would be on the city attorney because they have the opportunity to be there. If they chose not to, and something were to get the city into a legal situation, you know, that we can handle that with the city attorney at a different time because they were given the opportunity. But it clearly states the city opportunity in the labor negotiations will have the ability to at least be in the room. So if he sees something, he can at least step in. He's not there to negotiate. That's the mayor's office and the mayor's designee. It's there to be able to tell the mayor that there might be an area where he's getting the city into an area that the attorney doesn't want to handle at a later date. He'd rather stop it before it happens.
Have you ever tried to have the attorney call you back?
Well, our city attorney should, right?
That's what I'm speaking of, yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, at that point, it tells me he's allowed to be there, and if he chooses not to, we'll go on.
So is it the interpretation that if he chooses not to, he would issue a memo to the
Yeah, he would
mayor?
just tell the mayor, thank you, I won't be there, neither of it does. But by the same token of if a meeting were just to arise, if someone wants to have a meeting the following Friday, the city attorney would be notified that they have an opportunity to be there themselves, put a designee. And again, if the designee is the labor lawyers that the mayor may contract with the city attorney's approval, because all legal matters have to be approved by the city attorney, he might just feel that the labor lawyers are fine. But if the mayor is in a room with a union and shakes hands on a handshake, you know, it's just the opportunity for the city attorney to say, well, we asked you not to go down that road. So it just makes it easier for everyone to understand that clear delineation between latitude that you can kind of, you know, if you're contracting the city, then the city attorney, in a labor negotiation, the city attorney should be there to make sure that you're within the city's legal areas. And however, that's up to a lawyer. It's not me to decide what that is. It would seem to clarify anything that we've had over the past years as its concerns. So the other clarification is that when we said before the current charter just has the mayor executing these contracts, we have the MOUs. So again, just to be understanding, an MOU is still a contract. A contract by any other name is still a contract. So if you're binding the city, that's a contract. So we just tried to make that broader so there wasn't a way to work around asking for that authorization in the big. That was really it for the mayor's office of the mayor. We then moved down to common council, and the only changes we made in the common council area, we clarified in the absence of the mayor's absence, when does the council president step up to become acting mayor? We just, because it's 2022, we felt that the mayor can leave town as long as they're still in communication with department heads. If they weren't in communication, if something work came up and they could not reach based on that, then obviously, hopefully Clear has to then also move down the line and have whatever needed to be signed. But if, you know, in this instance, if Mayor White crossed over the bridge to go see Fort Erie for a play, as long as he's on his phone, he's still in town. So that just kind of opens it up because we have Zoom calls now, and we have phones, and we have emails, and we, Lord knows, I kind of wish we were back in 1980, and I couldn't be reached, but if we can, so we just kind of wrote that into the current charter. The other big change you might notice is under rules of order, I deleted the whole section because the rules of order change at the beginning of each term, and instead of having to rewrite it and have it be confusing what they're looking at, it just states that the council has the ability to change the rules of order at any point. And if you want to know what the current rules of order are, call the city clerk, call the council president. And they're in the meeting minutes for that first meeting when we set them. So that will stop all the, you know, again, when I became, when I was lucky to be appointed council member, the charter still said that the roll call should have been Hardwick. Tom was in it and Ron was in it. So, you know, it was kind of like we couldn't change it, then we finally did. And then, well, what's a charter change? Let's just remove it because it was either not correct or it's always a moving thing. And because you have the ability to change it at any point, and we're not going to change the charter on the website every time. Let's just say that the rules of the meetings are set by the council. If you want to know what the rules are, call the city clerk or call the common council president or look up in the minutes and you'll find out what those rules are. So that was just a cleaning. Any questions so far on that or any concerns? So we get to the big items as we talked about moving the city attorney, the office of the city attorney and the office of the city treasurer from elected to appointed. Our concerns at the time were more because when you're elected, there aren't, you can't place qualifications on an elected office. You just can't. Now, we understand that the rules being what they are, if you were to win the city attorney race and you weren't an attorney practicing in New York, you couldn't hold the seat. And my question back was, you can't hold the seat, but you won the election, do we still have to pay you and then hire someone else to do the work? And the answer really seemed to be yes, but we would hope that someone wouldn't try to, you know, it's great to hope that it never happens, but it's still a possibility. But the other big thing is in the case of incapacitation, or if the person just leaves town, honestly, if you're elected, you get paid until you're removed from office. And to remove someone from office is detailed in the charter, and we didn't change the removal process. It can take months and months and months. So if I took a job in Florida and said, just keep mailing my checks, aside from the fact that the checks wouldn't be produced, you know, I could do that and you would have to remove me. So those are silly things, but we just want to kind of clarify. And then, so that was a clarification for the office of city attorney. You know, just so we had an opportunity to fill it that way, replace if we have to remove because something truly happened, it shortens that 7-month time down to a manageable time. As far as the office of treasurer, the concerns there were over time since '96, that office has become truly an accounting position and not a treasurer's position. Like our brothers across the canal have a clerk treasurer that was actually a treasurer that the clerk jobs got folded into, but it became more of a clerk's job because of the nature. And honestly, when you're taking that job, you're probably not a fiscal background. And then they have an accounting department. We never built an accounting department. So part of that was to say, okay, it's going to be an appointment because we can't place qualifications on an election. So anyone can run for treasurer and you hope that the people would understand, you know, but if it's appointed, you at least the person has to have enough qualifications of having a college degree, some sort of background, and a few years of actual accounting experience. It doesn't really disqualify a lot of people, but it would at least say that you have some idea of what general ledger accounting is. And then that would become, so then, and then the people's voice would then transfer through the elected mayor and the elected common council to hire essentially a treasurer slash accountant as opposed to a treasurer and NT, that they have a clerk treasurer and they have an accounting department. Here we have a clerk and a treasurer slash accountant. So my counterpart across the canal would be Jeff Zellner. He's a civil service accountant. And then he answers to the clerk treasurer in the office. And then at the meetings, they bring him in to talk about financial matters because that's the easiest way to have the clerk treasurer to have it presented. So
Would you pick up on both of those to talk about how the appointment process is and the removal process?
okay, yeah, all right. So we got we got to why we felt it was important to at least look at those and voice our concerns to the public. The appointment process then became, it's not like the clerk spot where it's appointed by the council, and it's not like the city engineer spot where it's appointed just by the mayor. It was actually requiring the approval, and actually the mayor's office would bring in the names, and then it would be the mayor's office and a majority of the council would have to agree. So there'd be a hiring process, they'd be interviewing, and they'd have to come up with a name that both the mayor's office and the common council would agree upon. And then to remove, if something happened where you really felt, again, obviously removal of any officer still requires to follow state laws on hiring and firing. But they would have to, so it doesn't become just a political job. It has to be the mayor's office and the super majority of the council. So 4 out of 5 council members and the mayor's office.
So super majority, earlier you said majority, so it's
Majority
super,
to put on, super majority to move
Okay.
to remove.
But you don't think there'd be a problem? Let's say you have let's say a Republican mayor.
Mhm.
You got a Republican council, you got 3-2. Okay, what happens if the Republican mayor hires a Republican assistant, a Republican treasurer, and a Republican attorney, and now they can run the whole city? I mean, are you?
That is fairly common and has happened in the past.
But
But the key with that would be at least the Republican accountant you're hiring would have to have minimum qualifications. That's the key, where if it's elected, because.
No, I understand. I brought it up to.
so will there be job specs created?
Yes, it's actually in the charter as it's written. We use the treasurer's civil service job. I actually talked to Monica when she was in civil service, and we got the job specs. So we actually used the director of finance state job title and brought those specs over. We reduced them a little bit to give more people an opportunity to be on. But the specs are in here. It's just how many years of education, how many years of judge ledger, how many, it changes if you have a MBA or a CPA. It reduces the number of years, much like if you were being hired. If this was a civil service position, we kind of use the civil service position that the treasurer would be and put that, we actually wrote that into the charter, so those specs won't change.
And
Was-
if this, help me make sure I'm understanding this properly. This would be a competitive civil service position until.
Yeah, actually, no,
then-
it's still appointed, so they didn't want to go down the road of making that a competitive civil service spot because it's appointed by much like the city clerk, it's appointed by the mayor and the council. So they wouldn't have to pass a test. I actually did ask that a test be given to get this position, and it was at least I believe it was the general agreement of our commission that wasn't something they wanted to do. My feeling was it might be good to actually have a test, and then the mayor and the council would hire from a list. And that way it's that. But the consensus of our commission was, no, this is fine to do it this way as long as we have the specs written here. So again, that's something we're willing to look back on if we feel that would make a difference. But the tests are only offered every 4 years, and then if they appointed because there wasn't a valid list, and then that person actually gets shuffled out because the list comes out and they blew the test, they come in fourth, then you'd be constrained by the test rules. So you don't want a treasurer that's got 2 years in, blows the test, and then you get the next person. I guess that was the reasoning. I won't speak for the rest of the commission, but I think that's why we didn't want to go list. But on the same token, I've asked you, about hiring an accountant, which would be off the list and would probably be a union back position, and that would also be in the office. So there, you know, it's a fail safe in case the treasurer gets run over by a bus. There's someone that still has an accounting background to step in, so you'd have a little bit of redundancy. But that's not charter language, that's gonna be civil service rules. So we already started that process with the Civil Service Commission with Monica's help when she was serving on the commission, and now, you know, we're kind of moving forward with that as a background. So that is an option.
I apologize if you said this, but the appointment would be a 6-year.
That
Appointment
is
for
a
the city-
6-year, the city attorney is 4. Again, the commission chose 6. It isn't, it's a strong learning curve. I can see why 6 would be good for whoever's in there, because it really, I mean, I'm just hitting in my 3rd year, I'm starting to really start to feel more comfortable with what I'm seeing. So I think out of fairness, and again, we're writing this charter for, the last charter made it 26 years. I hope this charter makes it as long or longer. So it's not, you know, whoever would be appointed, I'm old, whoever gets the next spot or in 2 years. You know, as long as they have the qualifications, I think a 6-year term for that, because it's such a strong learning curve, is fair. But again, if there's a concern, if you feel for, it'd be better to move forward with the public hearings, we'd entertain that. So
And compensation is set by the council via
in this
resolution.
case, it would be council via budget, right? Same as they would any other, like the city engineer. So they could go up and down, but they'd have more movement in between. So right now you have to set it before the petitions go out. There you'll be able to set it based on, if the person only has 3 years as opposed to 20 years, you might lower the salary. You'd have the ability, the council would have the ability to set that via budget, as opposed to setting it before the election and hoping the person that's elected is worth the money is set. Because they're gonna get that money no matter what.
Right.
So,
Just a quick question on that too, with the requirements that are built into it. Are they stringent, must have these qualifications, or is there any?
They do, it's a must.
It's not a verbiage,
We
or-
don't have the out on the administrative assistant where the mayor and the council can say, well, he slept in a Holiday Inn, he's the treasurer. You do have to have a 4-year degree in business or business administration, or, you know, honestly, we started talking about adding finance, we struck that. It's not someone who's around numbers, it's someone who is an accountant. And then we have a term of, you had to have so many years in accounting. And we kind of went back. If we all remember when my predecessor, Joe, took the job, he was an accounting degree with 3 years experience, and that was fine. So we kind of kept that. I wouldn't want to write something that Joe couldn't have gotten the job, because thank God he had a job for all those years. He was amazing. So, you know, we kind of looked at it that way. Is it still room enough to actually bring in someone with varying experience? There's room in there. You know, if you're an accountant with an MBA and you're consulting, you probably fit the bill. There's still room, but we did try to say you have to have at least some years of general ledger accounting. And the only time we reduce that experience level is if you have MBA, CPA, or some other designation. So if you want to, again, we can talk about more stringent. You can make it more stringent because you're doing the hiring, but you have to at least hit that level. So if you wanted to replace me with someone who, you know, does taxes for us, it's a good.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying that they don't do great over there. It's just they don't have a degree. So you really want someone that has a parent.
So under the qualifications, it's the position of the commission that they hold a bachelor's degree in accounting, business with an MBA or a CPA, or have at least 6 years in the field.
I thought it was, I really thought we had a written, so you have the colors. I thought we definitely had the degree and the experience.
No, it's an.
It's an or.
But it's been-
So what is, I mean, 6 years is,
No, it was definitely not supposed to be an or. If I typed an or, I fixed that before it was.
so they must have and
It was
6
a
years.
must of a 4-year degree and experience. And the experience could be lessened by the additional.
I mean, is 6 years pretty consistent with the positions that you looked at? Or how did the commission come up with 6 years?
That was in the job title that came from civil service, or if we had gone with a civil service position, no listing and a hiring. To take the test, it was a 6-year term, so we just brought that over. We kind of split the difference between the treasurer and the we had a finance, we had a kind of a controller or a senior accountant. We split that and just kind of came with, they said 6, we used 6.
Just for point of information, did the specs include what the compensation was?
No, they did not.
Max?
That's still an open question. But we'd rather, for the charter not to set that, and let the council set that PPO budget.
Understood.
And why is the, and I apologize, is the residency in 6 months?
The preference, but if they, for some reason, they had to hire out, we added that in where they have a move-in provision.
Is that consistent with our residency policy in general?
Well, we have,
Is there a precedent for that?
well, our collective bargaining agreements has the residency clause based on that, but
Is
I
that
don't,
in the charter as well, like the
The-
residency?
well, the mayor would have the authorization to waive the residency for like the deputy city attorney. I don't know about the city engineer. We'd have to look more into that. I don't know that answer.
I think they can wait, I believe they can wait for anybody, if that's the
It
case.
can be waived.
And in this case, we're not
So-
saying we waive it, we say you have to move there.
I would just
Wouldn't
like
it
to,
be, wouldn't we want it consistent with the other appointments?
or if there's an opportunity in the charter to, does the charter refer to residency?
Well, the
Is
policy,
that-
For elected officials, it does. You have to be an elected, you have to be an elector, you have to be someone that lives here. It's very specific. That's in the definitions in front. For us, I mean, each of the 4 unions, obviously, if you're in the fire department, you don't have to live there.
collective,
Police, it's a policy you do. DPW, some members do, some members don't.
Sure.
And in the handbook, we say you have to be a resident. In this case, we're saying you have to be a resident, but we'll give you time.
so the policy manual cites the
I think
appointment.
we need to be consistent.
I agree with you. I think it should be consistent.
We just have to pick which of the 5 scenarios are consistent. And again, that's why we're here. Well, that's the easy stuff to change. It just seemed like for conversation's sake, we started off with the person would have to move here. We don't want to hire someone from Amherst and tell them they can stay in Amherst.
I'm sorry, you're saying you don't want to have someone?
Well, I think the language should be consistent, whatever, we decide, it should be consistent. So
What if there's 5 different
Our regular
Well,
employees, that's.
Actually, there's
if you have
just,
this appointed city engineer who can be waived, but a treasurer who has to move into the city,
according to our employee handbook, the only ones that don't have residency are sanitation workers and firefighters. Everyone else is required to be a city resident.
Right.
Period.
Unless it's waived.
unless the mayor waives it.
But the thought is if there wasn't anybody qualified to be the treasurer and we had to go outside the city, we'd have a larger pool to pick from. And like the superintendent at school, they always say when they pick a superintendent, they want them to move into the city.
Yeah.
So he's part of the community.
Understood.
Sometimes there's nobody in the city that can do the job.
Your assessor,
Would the city treasurer fall under the same group as the city engineer and the assessor and?
It's more along the group of the city clerk. So it's split out the way the definition is. It's the mayor makes appointments except for city clerk, city treasurer, city attorney in the revised charter. So it's a hybrid for that because of how it's be appointed. So it's not the same as the city engineer in that the council approves the mayor's selection. Here it's the council and the mayor making the selections. it's a little bit different. It's not random, so it falls more to the city clerk side of how we handle that.
What was your reasoning for making it 6 years?
Well, it wasn't my idea, but the general consensus of the
Okay.
commission was that it's a long learning curve. If you're hiring someone, you must well hire them for 6. Again, if they're truly not doing the job, at least with this, you can use human resource practices and show the job isn't being done, and you can actually remove and replace. Where if you elect someone who can't do the job, you got them for 4 years or a nasty fight to remove. So if you did find someone that you truly found not to be able to handle the bonds and payroll and the rest, you can remove them for cause, understanding that they can always, sue for their job. You can actually remove in this case where if you're elected, it's very hard to remove. It's a very long process, very costly process. And there's no guarantee that the removal will work. You
Would
might
that-
go through the whole thing and not be able to remove them, and you're paying them for 2 years, and not getting the work done.
I think too, there's the consistency and carryover from one administration to another, and not unlike the appointed judge. I think it also kind of, it makes it a little more bipartisan. It doesn't follow political lines if the administration changes as well. So if you've got a qualified, competent person in there, you don't want that person to be booted out with the change of another administration as well. So it kind of keeps that consistency.
Piggyback on Sean's, I would go one step further and say, by making it a competitive civil service position, you also give that additional layer of qualification by having by having that exam and demonstrating that you meet those established standards. And then you also have that official probationary period where it does meet those standards that you were referring to, that you have a finite period to test drive this candidate in this position. And then you have the opportunity to have a long career in that position, maybe even well beyond 6 years, through several administrations like your predecessor.
Right, you made it
And-
33.
Mhm, certainly. So I'm just
So your position is to
make
To
it
make
truly
a
competitive.
civil
and
service.
Before,
Then that-
I believe the reason why we didn't go that route is they still wanted to be elected, removing the voice of the people. At least this is the elected representatives in the council and the mayor making the decision where if it's a true test. It might also diminish and actually reduce our pool. but-
And Bill, that's consistent with what North Tonawanda does. It's appointed
North
by
Carolina elects their treasurer, but they hire
the,
through a testing process. That's Jeff. And I think he was hired provisionally. There might, again, the test hasn't been offered since early 2020. It's not being offered again until 24 as an accounting, and then the higher position, same thing. So I believe at some point Jeff will have to test to keep his job, because I believe it's civil service. But I haven't really followed to find out exactly how that works over there. I don't want to make it sound like
I think this position, you need to look at it sort of similar to, for example, the county naming commissioners. This is a management confidential position. Our idea was, and I think Bill was moving in the direction of asking for an exam for deputy city treasurer, so you would have that continuity. But the point is, it gives you still, when we're removing it from an elected position, which anybody could run for, and putting it in your hands, this is giving you the authority over that selection as a management confidential. That's what they call it.
Yes, and I know my management confidential position within the county is also competitive, as are many at that level.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying, I think giving up the elected position, this still puts the elected officials, you, in the responsibility of selecting the right person.
So it still kind of puts it reflects the voice of the residents. Yeah.
And again, if the person survives and then does something that's truly truly outside the norm, and the council and the mayor had a strong feeling that they needed to replace, they had the ability where, without getting into the firing process that we all know is very long. It just gives the council and the mayor a little more flexibility in that respect. As opposed to a short-
Bill, I think too, you have to recognize the reality of our limited staff. Treasurers, many years ago, we had a deputy treasurer, we had 4 people who were strictly designated to that office, plus the city treasurer. You know, you're dealing with a reduced staff, and I think the reality is the treasurer, in effect, I mean, you all know Joe became HR, became handle the hospitalization, he handled everything. I just think it's limited because of our size and your budget. You're putting a lot of responsibility on the person. They're basically your chief financial officer, in effect. And I think you need to have that kind of ability to put the person there or remove them.
To the mayor's point, the city may exercise the right to remove the city treasurer prior to the expiration of their term by a recommendation of the mayor and a supermajority of the common council. So if you get a all Democratic mayor and council, what you're saying is, you know, the treasurer could be removed just because we don't like you. I mean, I think we should add for cause.
We all learned in the Coogan affair.
Right.
You can't remove for that, so if you remove me for that, same as you remove Jim. for
Right.
that.
But I think we should add for cause.
Right,
I mean, you know, so the mayor can't say, well, I recommend a discharge of the city treasurer. And if you have a one-sided team, there's no cause. I mean, that opens the city up for a liability.
right, no more than if we actually had a competitive list to afford.
I don't think it hurts to
Okay, so-
specify for cause.
So we'll put for cost.
I guess we assume. It's fine.
Well, we assume, you know, a lot of things, but if we have it in plain English,
Here's our chance.
You have to shoot for the lowest
Get rid of someone if you don't have cause, but it's.
of course, and in this day and age,
I'll add that though, I'm not gonna.
And it's not-
they can sue anyway, but at least we can say there was for cause for a discharge.
So I'll add that for same thing with the city attorney, obviously it would have to be for cause, it can't be because. Like there's just- Everything else really remained the same, I just brought it from one section to the next, the reason why it's underlined is I copied it from one section. So it's considered to be new, even though it's a copy straight of the old positions. It's just how the person got there. Everything else remains the same as far as the budget tasks, working with the mayor, working with the town council, and the tasks they have to finish. So that was that section.
You could just add one piece of information for those that do not know. North Carolina has a so-called civil service accountant, and what's going on over there?
Right,
The swinging board.
they had a problem with the last account. Looking at what happened across the canal, the situation of being able to remove sooner would have been helpful, but there was more going on over there. They had a period where they didn't have any accounting person for 6 or 7 months. And then as soon as they hired the new person, Jeff, they got a virus and their computer system shut down for 4 months, and I don't know how he survived. But it was a bad situation. This kind of language might have helped, although the route that went, there's possibly that it wouldn't have changed much. So, but it's having this ability to remove for cause as opposed to having to either fire and take the 7 months it takes to fire or a year or longer to remove. This actually gives the council a chance to say, okay, this person, and in that case, the person left town, but they were held their job, so there wasn't much the council could do for the team. And They are, I'm sure they found out what was, I wouldn't mind for it, but it's just, that's just something we thought about when we were just making sure that the council would have the ability to replace or remove, or get someone in there for the budget without having to wait for a list or a test, as long as they have the qualifications.
So Bill, in this situation, and we're gonna put in for cause, without a real true HR department, who gathers that cause to bring to the council?
I honestly would think at that point, for cause for a treasurer would be the office of state controller.
I mean, in the-
There'd be some, obviously theft, I mean,
In
you
the
know.
day-to-day
for
scope
cause.
of things where, let's say they're not showing up, they're coming in drunk or whatever it is.
Right,
There has to be some sort of documentation to prove.
and that right now is in the mayor's office to the administrative
Okay.
assistant, so.
As long as
kinda
it's
do have that
delineated,
HR.
so that- you know, so that we're all on the same page with that.
Right, no, if I were arrested, if I lost, you know, there's many reasons it could be, but if the OSC came in, if there was a theft, obviously the police would be involved, but you can remove me immediately, where if I stole and that was civil service or elected, it's gonna be a lot longer to get that, it's not immediate. This could be immediate if you have funds.
Well,
So you catch the treasurer stealing.
I guess even, I mean, I think it's being presented that if you're competitive civil service or even non-competitive civil service position, that it is some astronomically long process to
Seems-
correct. But that, I think, has been an unfortunate byproduct of perhaps our not having, it can be a collection of minor infractions that lead up to that point where it's just not gonna
But
work.
10 years from now, we don't know who's gonna be sitting in any of these seats, and it
Sure.
might be have this flexibility, might
And-
move. So in case those offices don't handle everything right, it becomes a protracted situation.
Yes.
It might be easier for the council and the mayor to have the ability to actually say, this is the cause, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. That's why we kind of, again, the civil service side is why I asked for an accountant. So there will be a civil service accountant hopefully in that office soon. And that would be the fail safe. We'd have a civil service person and a appointed person, and they both be cross-trained. I'm assuming the civil service person would probably be the first person in council and the treasurer. And the mayor would hire to replace us. So, that would be their decision and not. So that's kind of where we came from on that. We spent an awful lot of time on it. Probably had at least 4 or 5 weeks just on this position. After that, all we really did was the last cleanup item we did is our current charter still mentions a water budget and presenting a water budget to the council. We don't have a water department anymore. Right now, it's 200,000 in, 200,000 out, because we have to put something there because they have to present a water budget. The OSC is looking at saying, why are you saying you have a water department? The water department, this would be a cleanup that would bring us more in line with the OSC. So that's just it's just the money that we get for water surcharge that's flowing to the sewer budget at that point would be sewer, the water as opposed to the water rents. Right now, you're supposed to be setting water rates. We don't have water rates. That's the state removing the section that should have been removed when we removed the water department. And then the section 7 was legal stuff stating when the charter provision would take effect. So in that, we killed all the stuff in the 96 charter when it took effect and just put in. So if this charter were to pass this November, which is when this commission will present, hopefully have it on the ballot, just because it would take effect on January 1st, 2023, it wouldn't bump myself or Mike out of office until our terms are up because we were elected for a term that ended. So that part wouldn't take effect until the office is full. So that's the stuff that went to section 7, and that was all our legal department over here that gave us all kinds of things, and now it has to go. The next step would be after we get some more input from the public, we're going to send it to our municipal code agency to have them just make sure all our numbers clarify, go back and forth, clean up any verbiage. But so far, our deputy city attorney has done a good job of keeping all that. I doubt we'll have many code changes based on verbiage.
When do you anticipate a public hearing on this?
We're leaning toward getting the first one out next week or shortly after, just to start some discussion, but the actual, once it's on the ballot, we're gonna be doing the tours around, talking to people as they want, but unless we will make the changes that we've discussed here tonight, if more changes come to mind and you want to discuss it, we'll meet one more time. So probably more toward the end of the month now. Meet one more time, make sure that's what we're gonna go with, and then that's what we're gonna present to the public, so.
So would you like to meet again on April 5th? Or would you have a public,
We would probably have a public hearing at that point. We'll have one more meeting amongst the commission to go over what changes we're talking about tonight and clean that up. We have to discuss one more item that came up. Is their civil service commission asked us to maybe put in some of the verbiage that was in other cities where they recognize that they have a civil service department. So, and then
So I just want to say to your committee that you did a great job on it. It's a lot of work, and we appreciate the time that you put into it.
I would imagine we'll be meeting this month to go over, clarify, and put that out to the public. If something comes to mind in the next few days and you want to send an email, we'll address it at the meeting. We didn't want to go too far afield on restricting the council's rights when it comes to replacing vacancies and such. I realize that I would make it easier to have consistent roles, but honestly, we feel that the process is there. Gives the council the choice to add additional steps or just go with what's there. Forcing additional steps in the charter just seems like an undue burden on the councils. That's why we did not address additional steps in the hiring process. That's you make the choice, and then if you want to impose additional steps, that's fine. It's not against the charter to put additional steps in, but if we put it in the charter.
so do you anticipate the April 5th meeting to the public at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock? What,
That whatever, if it's gonna be a council night.
That'd be a council night.
6 or.
Okay.
And I think separate would be better, just so we
It's not a council.
so what are you suggesting? Just,
we probably go the week before. So that would be the.
I think it'd be good if we had some input. If there's other things that you want to change, that's against, or whatever, the reality is, if people don't go out and help us promote this, it's going to be difficult for the voters. So I think it'd be helpful for us to hear your input tonight, we'll schedule a hearing to see if there's something else you want changed.
well, given the fact that it's 5 minutes to 6, I think Bill gave us the direction to send an email. We can send the email to the entire commission if we have any additional thoughts. And then you guys can reconvene for your meeting.
And the final product that we actually put on the ballot, we probably have until, I would imagine, early July.
Yeah.
Get that on. So we're again, if there's a lot of public pushback, we'll take that into consideration, because obviously some of the stuff just needs to be done to bring the charter into the current era. And then, depending on what other pushback we get, we'll finalize it, and we'll probably go to send it down to the Board of Elections in July. So we have some time to make those changes.
Any final thoughts?
No, thank you very much
All right,
for all
thank
that
you.
work.
All right, so you're
Thank you very
saying
much.
that you have one meeting starting next week.
All right, so we have a few minutes.
Madam President, we're gonna take a couple minutes before we start at 6.
Please.
Okay.
Progress.
Even if they're going through things, in the meantime.
time, some Buffalo Board of Education members have taken initial steps toward an independent investigation of what happened.
Republication.
That's just a fun name.
Madam President, at this time, everyone from the waiting room has been brought back into the meeting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. 6:02, if you can call the meeting of the City of Tonawanda Council to order, can you please call the roll?
Polanich,
Here.
Nocera,
Here.
Braunstrom,
Here.
Mylum,
Here.
Cook.
Here, all right, before we go through the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for personnel of particular persons as well as legal. I have a second by Mr. Mylum. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So, Mr. Casso, at 6:02, we will be in executive session.
And that's second by Mr. Councilmember Mylum.
Mr. Mylum, correct.
Again, I apologize for everyone that's brought into the Zoom meeting. At this time, we're going to executive session. So the record. Madam President, at this time, everyone from the Zoom call has been brought back into the meeting and we are recording.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right, if we could just go through the agenda. All right, council on the minutes?
Sure.
Everybody good with that? Everybody good?
Yep.
All right, next is the resolution to stop DWI, authorizing the mayor to sign the contract with Erie County. Questions on this? Council on it?
Yep.
Everybody go with it? Okay, then next is the resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with Water Bike Adventures for the 2022 season. Questions on this?
Is this the same agreement as last year financially or?
Yes, yes, same agreement. You want it,
I'll take it.
Mr. Mylum? Okay, resolution 4, at the recommendation of the Parks and Rec Director, the fees increased. Ms. Lalonich? Comments or questions on that?
I think there was-
Resolution 5, at the recommendation of Parks and Rec Director, those fees increased. And Mr. Clerk, you made that change that Mandy emailed us about. You reviewed that correction?
Yes, it was changed. Girls softball G6G was changed to $50.
Right. Just so the
And-
public,
And 6S was added, Start Smart was added for $40.
so just so the public's aware, there was a typo. So we made that correction. Ms. Lalonich, you. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay, then next is the special events application for the Carry the Load organization to hold the relay walk along the River Walk in May. Comments or questions?
You know who the organization is or what they represent?
I do not. Mr. Clerk, can you pull the application?
It's
Yes.
a veteran support group.
It's a military organization. The Carry the Load National Relay. It's a walking event throughout the city to honor the sacrifices of our nation's military veterans, first responders, and their families. The relay goes from the city of Buffalo along the river through the town, the city of Tonawanda, and North Tonawanda.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Any comments or questions on that? We're gonna do council on that?
Sure.
All right, resolution 7, at the recommendation of our city engineer. The contract for the senior citizen center for the HVAC improvements or HVAC improvements. We talked about it at our last council meeting. Mr. Nocera, you wanted to sponsor it?
Yes, please.
Any comments or questions on that? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to table resolution 8. I don't believe we've received the financial report as of yet. Is that your understanding?
Are they all in? That was my question.
It's 8, 9. and
Right.
10.
Yeah, I'm gonna go each. No, you're good. Mr. Treasurer, have you received the financial? I don't know if he's on. But it's my understanding they haven't been received yet. We haven't, council, we haven't received.
The chief, sir. Have you received the 4 companies?
We have not. One day I'll be receiving Union Book and Letter expenditures. I have the other 3 companies as of now.
Once you receive those, if you could just forward them to our city treasurer, our city clerk, and the council. Thank you so much. So on that, I'm going to make a motion to table resolution 8. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mylum. Mr. Clerk, if you could just please call the roll on tabling resolution 8.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Milo,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye. Okay, resolution 8 has been tabled. We'll do it again formally. Resolution 9 consistent. Just because we haven't received the financial summaries as of yet, I'm going to make a motion to table. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Madam President.
Second by Mr. Rautenstrau. Mr. Clerk, if you could just call the roll on tabling resolution 9.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye, resolution tabled. Okay. Resolution 10, same thing. Since we haven't received the financial reports as of yet, I'm going to make motion to table. Do I have a second?
I'll take it.
Second by Mrs. Lulanich. Mr. Clerk, if you could call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye. Okay, same thing, resolution 11, we have not received the financial summary, so I'm gonna make a motion to table resolution 11. Do I have a second?
I'll take it.
Second by Mr. Nocera. Mr. Clerk, if you could call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye. All right, resolution 12, pursuant to the section of the city charter, the mayor is recommending the appointment of Jason Lamonaco as our city engineer. Questions or comments on that? Council council all in agreement? Sure. Let's do council. All right, we don't have executive. All right. Lindsay, come on up. Thank you for joining us. Apologize for a few minutes late.
And everybody else received the email. Okay, great. I'm gonna read most of it, not all of it. Just a quick introduction, because I don't know if everybody knows me. I'm Lindsay Jelski. I live up on the hill. I am a huge play advocate. I believe that children over the last 23 years have declined in terms of play. I feel that my generation, it was one of the last ones to actually know what play was. We would leave, we would go, we would take balls, we would ride our bikes, we would come home, and we would play. So all of that being said, I have 2 children. They have started to play and they have friends, but I'm also seeing that they can't find other kids who know how to play because we are so structured into screen times, extracurricular activities, travel, sports, and so forth. So a little bit more about my background is I have an education degree, I have a fine art degree, and I also have a master's in creativity and innovation. So I look at things a little differently, and play really has been my focus since around 2012. And then over the last few years, I've really dug in. I started those pop-up playgrounds at COT Neighbors United do. I've done sensory playgrounds for children with sensory issues, and if you come in my backyard, it's a jungle thing. So what I'm just going to go over tonight is just a proposal or an idea for a nature-based playground. So some of the facts are nature deficit disorders contribute to the diminished use of our senses, attention difficulties, conditions of obesity, higher rates of emotional and physical illness. Another fact is that being in nature reduces stress levels, increases our sensory awareness, and increases creativity. As playgrounds have increased their safety requirements, so over the last 20, 30 years, really since around 81, playgrounds have changed and they've focused more on the safety aspects. So since the playgrounds have become more safety-based, our injuries for children have actually increased. Risky play, such as climbing over logs, jumping over rocks, spinning in circles, those are all important milestones children need to do for their development. It helps with spatial reasoning, sensory awareness, gross motor skills. You actually need risky play for childhood in order to form parts of the brain, so the prefrontal cortex. You need that aspect of risky play, as well as being able to identify risk as an adult. In 2018, it said that children spend 35% less time outside than their parents did. Nearly 1 in 5 kids play outside once a week or less. Kids aged 10 to 16 spend less than 15 minutes a day outside. And there is a difference between a nature playscape and the meadow playgrounds. And again, it goes back to society in the last 20, 30 years. We've kind of forgotten what play looks like, sounds like, and is, right? It's messy, it's loud, and looks a little chaotic, but it's all, there's a reason for it all. So again, over the past decade, the benefits of connecting children and adults back to nature have been documented and highly researched. The movement has also shown that children, as well as adults, social, psychological, academic, and physical health is positively impacted when they have the direct contact with nature. When it comes to public health, mental health is as important as environmental health of a community. One of the easiest ways to combat mental health issues is through play and through nature. In the UK and in Canada, doctors can actually prescribe nature therapy to their patients, telling them to go spend 2 hours outside. Again, decades of research show that play and time spent in nature decreases anxiety, depression, ADHD tendencies, while increasing your cognitive functions, development of that prefrontal cortex, and also with your coping skills, problem-solving skills, creativity, social skills, executive functioning, and more. Studies have also shown that children would rather dig, climb trees, make forts, and explore space on their own. Traditional playground equipment is only designed to be used one way, and children become bored with that, right? So if you think about any of the parks you've gone to, local, outside of the city, there's one play structure in the center of a field. nature is spread out far away from that. So based on that design, you are now removing the child's ability to connect with nature because it's set farther back. And again, as children become bored with that equipment, because there's only one way to use that piece of equipment, that's when you actually do see the equipment being used incorrectly, because they're bored. Whereas you have the open-ended playground, so for example, a log that they can climb over, they can turn that log into different things using their creativity and their imagination. They're less likely to get injured, they're less likely to get bored, and they're more likely to use their imagination and their creativity. In recent years, like 20 to 30 years, parks have focused on that focal point of play, keeping kids in a particular area by using 1 or 2 large pieces of equipment guarded by that cord rubber. We've all seen that cord rubber now that everyone's using. That cord rubber increases the temperature on that playground up to 15 to 20 degrees in hot days. And if you look at those playgrounds too, what are those playgrounds lacking? Trees or shade, or you're paying extra money for those shade structures to be built, right? So parks should include several different components in different locations to create multiple play space opportunities where movement throughout the area is taken advantage of. As a child becomes bored in one area, they have more freedom and movement and space to go from space to space. And while they move from space to space, they're also engaged with what's around them. So if you have a structure to your left, trees, a little hill, and a structure to your right, that child has to engage with all of that nature in order to get to the right. So the concept that I have here is to create a nature play space throughout the existing parks with elements of commercial playground equipment and build these nature areas out of trees, rocks, and other nature items. So again, I'm just going to kind of briefly run through this part. City growth goals within this concept would be to create movement between playgrounds within the city. Having a nature play space like veterans will engage and bring new visitors to the city. I listed a couple of different local nature-based playgrounds in our area. The closest one is Glen Falls and Amherst. It's a very easy concept. It's a log, a couple other logs, and the kids will play on those logs for hours. Another close one would be Birchfield out in West Seneca. They have similar concepts. And then you have Rhinestein Woods. When you first walk in to the right, they have their nature playground that has loose parts. So it's just a pile of logs that the kids can pick up and build their own shelters. Another goal would be to revitalize the space with new interests and play elements, create creative low-cost solutions for regular nature play opportunities for children. In January, when I first presented this to the mayor, he suggested creating a playground committee to help this process. Community growth goals within this concept would be to increase active free play with nature, creating value in nature. Everyone's all about the climate, right? We're all about climate change. You cannot instill the value of climate and climate change in children that are not experiencing nature. So this is your first step you have to take. You have to build that appreciation of nature for children to then, as adults, care about the climate change. Increase outdoor playtime, exposure to the outdoors, increase independence, increase sensory awareness. You increase the development, mental health, physical health. You decrease the nature deficit disorder. You increase students and their children's academic rates through play. You have tangible, real memories with others, with nature. I'm pretty sure everyone in front of me here can think of 1 or 2 times in their childhood that stand out when you were outside playing with friends. The children today are usually on screen with their friends, and then will that memory actually hold 40 years now? We'll have healthier children. The risk assessment is actually going to be created in these children's brains. That's huge. What's happening is we're taking away play. They're not learning how to take a successful and appropriate healthy risk. So now they turn into adults and they don't have that capability. And then we'll also get to have understanding for nature and creating value of nature. So some of just the needs within the concept would just be we would need to have play locations closely located to pavilions. We can accommodate all ages. You can use the ADA access for some areas, and you need to, specifically thinking of that park, maybe you would need to rethink the placement for the disco. Positives to the nature-inspired play space, it's a low cost. You're going to use the resources from within your city. So as we move into spring, And trees have to get cut down. We take those trees, we make a pile in vets that we allow them to weather. The springtime, we know for DPW and parks is a busy time. But in the end of summer, parts of fall, it's a little bit slower for them. Then they can take those pieces of.
Gentlemen, if we could just keep it down, thank you. Sorry, Lindsay.
So in the fall, then you're able to take that wood, mulch it, turn it into the play space. But you take your local resources instead of chopping the trees, mulching it, discarding the mulch, take that opportunity to turn it into play space. We can enhance the enhancement of social emotional skills. So children are going to be making new friends, we can turn, feeling feelings. You also have the enhancement of your gross and fine motor skills. I'm climbing over the rock. I'm stepping on the small disc that's a log. I'm going to the bigger disc. So we're going to give them more opportunity. And because it's not so structured in a typical metal playground, there's more creativity involved. You have the development again of the brain for coping, problem solving, emotional. It reduces the cost on supplies and materials. As you see, the log is now starting to decay after 1 or 2 years. Mulch it, bring in a new log that had to get chopped down. Restructured funds, so that money that you could spend for a $200,000 playground, maybe you can use that for something else. And then again, allows for independence, sensory awareness, and really it can allow us to become a nature place-based destination in Western New York. Just some of the concerns with this concept would just be designing a new playground. So you have the capital project for the school district for Fletcher. They're going to be building 2 different playgrounds. I sit on that committee. So there's going to be 2 different playgrounds for around $650,000. There are some beautiful components that they're going to put in there. And if you were to build another large playground at Betts Park, it's a half a mile away. What's going to make it special? It's not, it's going to be the same elements because a $150,000, $200,000 playground at Betts is not going to compare to a $700,000 one across the street. Pete's, again, with the new playgrounds, you have to compact that rubber ground. And also if you've ever been to like Billy Wilson on Hopkins, you'll start to go, and that's a fairly new playground. The rubber is cracked and there's some soft spots and you kind of feel like you're floating for a little bit. You have the safety. Again, there's records and evidence that shows nature play space have no additional injuries than your commercial playgrounds. If anything, they actually are lower, right? And then nature play space have different and less rules for safety. So when you look at commercial playground safety, there's different rules or some don't even exist. Maintenance, again, as something decomposes, you're just mulching it, putting it right in its own spot again, and dropping another log as you chop one down. And again, the cost would be absorbed through the salary. So some creative time management skills could allow for our workers throughout their normal work week be able to build and create this location. And again, everything would be sourced locally. And then just the rest of the presentation are just some other interviews, some other photos and data as to what this looks like other places. And then I also drew some pictures for you. So there's also pictures I drew for you just to kind of give you an idea. It's basically going back to the basics. You don't need big and flashy. You can take a log, kids will climb on it, they'll spend hours on it. You can make a pile of acorns, a pile of twigs, and a pile of pine cones, and kids will play on it. You know, one of our biggest exciting parts of the pop-up playgrounds is the pool that we use that's full of birdseed. The kids love it, and it's a simple concept, right? And if we take play back to those simple concepts, having a mud kitchen, or just having a pile of branches that kids can build their own forts, will really be able to change play, change the development of our children. So I'm presenting tonight so everybody can see my passion towards this, and hopefully that we can come together as a city and just make this happen for the kids. So, any questions?
This is great.
I think it's really innovative.
I think
It's a simple concept though, right?
No, it is, but it's, yeah, it's great.
I like the idea of a lot of it. I'm really intrigued by the fact that, and truth be told, I've had the opportunity to talk to Lindsay about this. She's been talking about it with me for a while. And some really great ideas as part of this. What intrigues me more is the difference between metal playgrounds and safety and the injuries that happen as opposed to a nature setting like this. My own experience, my boys are still pretty young. And 2 years ago, my son broke his leg on the regular swing set, which as much as he climbs a tree in the backyard and all over everything else, and hasn't injured himself on that. So that's interesting takeaway from that. Something else I think you mentioned, which I think is kind of important too, is you could integrate some ADA access into this as well. So that's something that you could bring people with disabilities into this to integrate with other kids that are playing there and use it. And you said that wouldn't take that much of a cost. That's something that could be made in-house.
And again, it comes back to like the different requirements for a nature play space versus a commercial play space. Some of the ADA requirements are simply a pathway to the structure. So having a pathway to, let's say, the wooden tic-tac-toe board, and then the child is able to participate and so forth.
In your research, were you able to find if there are grant opportunities that perhaps the city could pursue?
I haven't really looked into the grant side. I mean, I know that there are tons of opportunities for grants. I know that there's a specific program that works with cities to give access to nature for children. I have all that, I just can't pull it from the top of it. But there are particular programs that work within cities to help find the funds to provide that nature equity or that nature access to their children.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any
well
questions for Lindsay?
Thank you.
Does anybody have anything for around the room? Sean, anything for around the room?
You know what, that segues into something that I've been meaning to bring up and I've talked to her about, kind of tying into this playground and the nature and bringing, advocating for children in our area. As our schools are kind of merging into a new location, we're losing some playgrounds. We're hoping to bring some more families into our community as well. And just that different mindset of kids being in front of tablets and sports and everything else is, I've seen legislation or, resolutions put in with other communities and other cities as far as like a bill of rights for kids. And I've talked to Lindsay about that, and I think there's it's a great concept and a great idea to kind of get us to get behind something like that, to kind of put it into the wording and almost codify the fact that it's okay to play, it's okay to run around outside, it's okay to, climb some trees and hurt yourself. But it's unfortunate that we have to think about that. We have to put it into place. I mean, I've had neighbors question my kids running outside and climbing the trees, and is that okay? Are they safe? I have a park right in front of my house, and I think it's really cool that my kids have the opportunity to play there. That's why I moved into the neighborhood that I did in the city that I'm in. I just think with some of our contacts now, our relationship with North Tonawanda and Austin, contacts that we have with the school board in the town, I think it'd be a cool idea to, kind of codify something, put it into writing, and maybe have some sort of resolution where we as a group, our city, our school board, North Tonawanda Town, Tonawanda kind of get together and maybe have something put into, say we have a bill of rights for our kids and to kind of promote these and show that we're advocating these kind of things and continue to promote, possible park ideas, things that we're doing with the playground pop-up groups and the community-based things that we've been doing for many years. I think it's a huge thing. I know some of us have younger kids and older kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews that we really want to advocate for. And I think it would be something that I'd like to talk more about, maybe codify if you guys are willing to do that, and maybe put something into place.
To that, I noticed in Lindsay's proposal, she wrote that she presented it to the mayor and he suggested creating a playground committee.
Sure.
I'd be in full support of that. Committees are created by the council, so what does everybody think?
I would think we'd want to, invite the rec department to have representation on there because.
Oh,
that
yeah,
is-
of course,
yeah.
right. But would everybody be open to a playground committee?
Well, I think also by doing something like that, it gives the ability for Lindsay and people that would be involved with this and have the experience with this to maybe help and give some direction to our rec department. I know we've kind of cookie cuttered our playgrounds, like she mentioned. We put the metal playgrounds up and we've given some opportunities, but thinking outside of the box and creating different opportunities is really cool. And to bring somebody from the outside in to be able to look at that would be great. So to kind of give them the ability to work with our Parks and Rec department to pursue some of these options would be great. And I think, like I said, with you, with your communications with the school board and stuff like that, we can kind of all work together to make that happen.
So why don't we all put our heads together and come up with some names for a playground committee, and we can have a resolution by April 5th? Is that a realistic time?
Yes.
Okay, and if any resident is interested in joining a playground committee, send the clerk and the council an email, and we'll have a resolution for April 5th. Let's target that.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Monica, if you want to reach out to Mandy and just let her know that this is in the works. Are you okay with that?
And just one more item on that too that I'd mentioned, I put the email out there. We talked about it last year. With the pandemic, it brought some outdoor seating and dining. It was brought up with the Traffic and Safety Committee last year. And just especially that area with Franklin and Adam, where there's a lot of congestion, with the outdoor dining and deliveries coming in and out of there, you see some people kind of pulling out the wrong way, coming the wrong way down the street. So I think there was a traffic and safety recommendation last year about possibly adding some arrows into the road to put that direction, widening the stop line area and maybe adding an extra stop sign. So what with Mr. Worthling here as the department head, I kind of wanted to bring that up again and see if we can kind of get that into motion earlier, be a little more proactive about it, and just kind of get your input from it if that's going to be doable before the weather breaks and it gets busy over there.
So I know there was an email sent, if you just want to follow up and speak to Joe, and I don't want to put him on the spot now, but have him take a look at that and see what we need to do to
Cool.
to move forward.
Just making sure we can move forward with that. Thank you.
And then if we can just get a response to that. Email and.
Okay.
So we can move forward. Dave, did you have anything to run the room?
Yeah, really quickly, I'll get this done by 7. First of all, I'd like to nominate Lindsay for the playground committee. That would be the name that I would.
I think that's a given.
No, I was reached out to by one of the council members from North Tonawanda last week. He had an extensive conversation with the folks from that Jewel Power Company that presented to us about 2 weeks ago. And he reiterated the company, Jewel Company, reiterated the importance of getting as many municipalities together on this as possible. And our partners over there in North Tonawanda asked if we would be interested in sitting down to a Zoom meeting with the company where we could ask questions and potentially at least just hear out a little bit more. I think we were all pretty unanimous in our thought of not liking you have to opt out, that everybody's automatically in and that whole thing. But if you guys would want to just have a Zoom meeting some night, I can kind of work it out with our council, their council, and then either give it a unanimous thumbs up or down. Is that something that you'd want to pursue, or are we all kind of in the same?
Did they have anything different to add that?
No, really what his thing was, and I kind of saw it, with so many folks being on like a fixed income, saving $8-10 a month could make a big difference for some people. And I get that. However, I don't want to force anybody into changing or feel like they're changing a power company or anything like that. So I'm good either way. I just wanted to bring it to you guys and kind of let the group make the decision.
It's not gonna hurt. Obviously, we can go our own direction.
Right.
But
But if
another,
the opt-out is not different, then I don't see how the outcome can be different.
Right.
Yeah, I think that might.
That was kind of our unanimous decision, right?
Yeah, I think it's because we're very uncomfortable with enacting a law known as home rule, that we are going to force this
Right.
on all the residents, the businesses, everybody within the city of Tonawanda, that we're gonna make them take this Jewel company on as their service provider. I'm not comfortable with that.
No, me
Not
neither.
at all.
Especially
But I
coming
didn't
down
want to
from
be the
us.
spokesperson for everybody either.
Yeah, no, I think we're consistent with that.
I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page. I can just call them back and say, we're good where we are and thank
I think so.
I think deputy does.
you. Okay, fine with me.
All right, thanks, Dave. Anything else before? All right, Mr. Clerk, it's 7:01. Let's call the meeting of the city.
Madam President, I just, I don't know if Dave or Sean could just turn the microphone on out there. That's the one on for the public.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh.
We'll take care of that.
The left-hand button, you press the left-hand button, it'll turn green. Just so we get any public comments.
Get it?
You good?
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome, Mr. Clerk.
All right, it's 7:01. Let's call the meeting of the city of Tonawanda Council to order. Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Lulanich,
Here.
Nocera,
Here.
Rautenstrau,
Here.
Mylum,
Here.
Cook.
Here, if you can please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
Under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
please stand. Let us express gratitude for the opportunity to serve on and with the city council, for the gifts that we have been given that enable us to make a difference in the lives of those that we serve, for the chance to do something special and meaningful with our lives. Help us to embrace the challenge and the responsibility we have as leaders. Guide us to lead with integrity and common sense. Give us the wisdom to make intelligent decisions, courage to make tough decisions, and character to make the right decisions. Help us always to be welcoming as a city council, inclusive and open to the vision of all. And tonight, in a special way, let us remember the people of Ukraine and all of those servicemen and women who are being deployed. Amen. You may be seated. Okay, bid openings as per the agenda. Communications from the mayor have been ordered and filed. Communications from city officials and correspondence have also been ordered and filed. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public on the resolutions. For those that are joining us virtually, there is a spot for you to raise your hand. Please do so, and the clerk will call upon you. This is comments on the resolutions. Mr. Clerk, do you have anyone who's joining us virtually that wishes to address the council on the resolutions?
Madam President, I do not show anyone on the Zoom call that's looking to make any comments on the resolutions.
Okay. Hearing none, last call, let's roll.
Resolution number 1 by the council, seconded by the council. Resolved that the common council minutes from February 15th, 2022 be accepted as filed.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 2 by the council, second by the council. Whereas the city of Tonawanda takes DWI seriously, and whereas the city of Tonawanda, in conjunction with Erie County, are working together to stop DWIs, and whereas the city of Tonawanda would like to continue this agreement with Erie County, now therefore be resolved that the common council of the city of Tonawanda hereby authorizes the mayor, John White, to sign the 2022 contract with Erie County to stop DWI.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Bolanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 3 by Councilmember Mylum.
Do you have a second? Second by Mr. Nocera.
Whereas in these difficult financial times, the city of Tonawanda and the mayor are always searching for ways to bring in revenue to the city and also provide amenities for the enjoyment of residents and visitors. And whereas for the last several summer seasons, the city has leased a portion of its property on Ellicott Creek to Water Bikes Adventures LLC for the purposes of renting various watercraft to the public. And whereas the parties desire to enter into an agreement, a copy of which is on file at the city clerk's office, setting forth the terms and conditions of the lease for the upcoming 2022 season. Now therefore be resolved that Mayor John White is authorized and directed to execute an agreement with Water Bikes Adventures LLC for the 2022 season.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. Mr. Clerk, I'd like to make a motion to waive readings 4 and 5. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
that, Madam
Second by
President.
Mr. Rautenstrau. All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 4 by Councilmember Lulanich.
Do we have a second?
I'd like to second, Madam President.
Second by Mr. Rautenstrau. Comments or questions? Comment. I'd like to thank our Director of Parks and Recreation for this recommendation. In a nutshell, it is increasing the fees up at our Gateway Harbor. So I appreciate her due diligence in looking into this. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 5 by Councilmember Lulanich.
I'll second. Comments or questions? Comment, I'd also like to thank our Director of Parks and Recreation for her due diligence and her recommendation to increase the fees. And I appreciate her hard work on it. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 6 by the council, seconded by the council. Whereas a special events application was received by the city clerk from the Carry the Load organization, and whereas the application was reviewed and commented on by all appropriate department heads to ensure the safety and well-being of our residents, and whereas all details of the above named event must be coordinated with Police Captain Frederick Foles and the event chairperson, now therefore be resolved that permission is granted to Carry the Load organization to hold the relay walk along, to hold the relay along the Riverwalk on Thursday, May 12th, 2022, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And be it further resolved that a certificate of insurance naming the city of Tonawanda as additionally insured be filed with the city clerk no later than May 6th, 2022.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 7 by Councilmember Nocera.
We we have a second?
I'd like to second that, Madam President.
Second by Mr. Rounstrau.
Resolved that the recommendation of the city engineer, Jason J. Lamonaco, P.E., that award of the contract for the senior center HVAC improvements be made to Bethlem Service Corporation, EMCOR Services, at a cost not to exceed $23,000. Funding fiscal impact is $23,000 from Erie County.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook,
I declare the resolution adopted. Earlier,
go
I made
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Madam President.
Earlier, I made a resolution to table the resolution 8. It was seconded by Mr. Mylum. Just to go through the formalities, can you please call the roll?
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook,
I declare resolution 8 tabled. Earlier, I made a motion to table resolution 9. It was seconded by Mr. Rautenstrau. Can you please call the roll?
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye, resolution 9 has been tabled. Earlier, there was a motion to table resolution 10, sponsored by myself, seconded by Mrs. Lulanich. Can you please call the roll?
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook,
I declare the resolution tabled. Last but not least, I made a resolution tabling resolution 11. It was seconded by Mr. Nocera. Can you please call the roll?
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook,
I declare that resolution tabled.
resolution number 12 by the council, seconded by the council. Whereas in accordance with section 2.025 and section 3.051 of the charter for the city of Tonawanda, New York, the mayor shall appoint officers as the mayor deems necessary or as provided by law or ordinance, subject to confirmation by the common council. Now therefore be resolved that the common council hereby confirms the mayor's appointment of Jason J. Lamonaco to the position of city engineer, term to expire December 31st, 2025.
Comments or questions? Comment, Mr. Lamonaco is a huge asset to the city of Tonawanda. We are so fortunate to have him here. And I just want to congratulate him on this. Any other comments? Please call the roll.
Lulanich,
Aye.
Nocera,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public following the resolutions. For those that are joining us virtually, there's a spot for you to raise your hand. Please do so at this time, and the clerk will call upon you. For those that are joining us in person, please approach the microphone. Mr. Clerk, we have a comment on the floor.
Hi, my name is Renee Cool, and I'm speaking to you tonight as a concerned member of the Tonawanda School Committee. On November 29th.
I just need your address for the
Oh,
record.
sorry, 36 Corinthia, Lockport, New York. I'm a teacher.
Okay.
On November 29, 2021, I was involved in a pedestrian/car accident at 7:48 a.m. in the school zone located in front of the middle school, high school. I exited my vehicle and then bent over to pick up something I dropped at my feet. A few seconds later, the Tonawanda City Police Department SUV hit my driver's side door, which then swung back and hit me on the side of the head. I was out of work for 2 days with facial contusion. This unfortunate accident reinforces the congestion and traffic concerns at the corner of Hines Street, School Street, and the parent drop-off. This is a four-way stop, and parents drop their children and legally then wait to see them cross safely, causing more traffic issues. Although signs are posted, the parents do not keep these warnings. Due to COVID and increased student population, adding the 5th grade this year to the building, this is just an area of the street that needs to be addressed still. There has never been a crossing guard at this section of the street. In addition to the above mentioned concerns, the accident incident report filled out by the police department has a few inaccuracies. I've reached out to the police department in writing to correct these errors, but I've received no response to date. Since they are party to the incident, I'm asking the council members to act as a third-party liaison and help to make any necessary changes. The Town of Wanda City School District has a video of the accident that should be able to be viewed and clear up any discrepancies. My attorney has asked the school district and the police department to save all video footage until this can be resolved. I kind of want to just get the inaccuracies in the officer's name to you rather than speak out loud. And thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, I will forward you what was handed to me for record. All right, any other comments by the public? Mr. Clerk, anyone wishing to address the council?
Madam President, at this time, I do not show anyone on the Zoom call that are looking to make any comments.
Hearing no further. Mrs. Lulanich.
I will just, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lindsay Jilski. All right. Jealousy, thank you. I've got some random J's in my name, so I'll endeavor to do that better. Thank you for sharing. That's really, really cool information. Looking forward to the next steps in that. And just want to acknowledge our Parks and Rec director for the hard work and due diligence with the fee increases. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lulanich. Mr. Nocera.
Echoing Mrs. Lewanowich's, thank you for coming forward with that great information. It was well thought out, well planned out, and the drawings were a great help as to visualizing what it is that you were speaking to. Also, I'd like to mention that hopefully, since it's March 1st, that the winter season is further behind us than ahead of us. And thank you to our Public Works Department for doing an excellent job throughout the year as far as cleaning up our streets and so forth. Another thing I want to mention, just an observation from my front porch, is that some folks aren't even really trying. When they're at the stop sign at Delaware Street and Minerva, that it is a stoplight and it's not a left on red or a slow down on red. Wait till it's green and then make the turn. I'm sure that we would appreciate that. Also, the speed bumps, otherwise known as up on the hill, have become filled in a little bit. So that's nice that the potholes are beginning to get filled in. That's appreciated very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nocera. Mr. Rauenstrow.
Thank you. And always a little bit of reiteration as we move forward, so it kind of just builds up until Dave just, says ditto.
Say the same thing everybody else does.
I do want to make a point of thanking the Charter Change Commission for the work, for presenting things to us. I think they're onto some great ideas, and I look forward to seeing the charter updated, modernized, and just kind of addressing some issues that have plagued the council and plagued our government for a little while. And hopefully we can clarify some of those things. I want to thank Lindsay Jelski for her presentation. It was a great presentation. I look forward to see what you're going to do with this. And moving forward, thanking Joe, DPW, for the work you guys have done. I talked to him recently about the work you've been doing on function of poles and get everything filled up, especially that one over on Delton and Military. It was kind of a bit of a hazard over there with the lights and everything. So it's great to see that's passable now. I do want to make mention, and especially because she's in the audience today, is Natalie Bolliard. I know they're moving forward with the the deeply rooted community garden. I know you've spoken with the mayor and are looking forward to a grand opening. I look forward to seeing what you guys have done there, and just want to make everyone else aware of it, that it's happening. It's the old Luskin, it's the Luskin Garden, Luskin property that's there, where she's doing a community garden, trying to do some community input, involvement in it, and get people more involved with it. And you'll see it on Facebook, specifically the deeply rooted community garden at Luskin Drive. Look it up, see what it's all about, and get involved. And beyond that, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raumstra. Mr. Mylum.
Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Joe. Congratulations, Jay. You are absolutely an asset to this city. If anybody's ever had the opportunity to sit down with Jason for more than a minute, you know exactly how much of an asset he is to this city. I sent the official thumbs down vote to NSOL this week concerning the fence along the yards behind Hackett Drive. Oddly enough, I did get one more vote after I sent that in. It's been about 3 weeks since the letter went out, but it was a yes vote. So the official overall vote was 12-4, 12 no, 4 yes for the fence along that area. I'm anticipating that the construction will kind of ramp up now and it'll be more visible to more people. And Jason, again, thank you for looking into the archives about everything that we've been asking about. Some of the residents have inquired, that they thought that back in the day that there was a height restriction put on how high that landfill could go, and now it's eclipsing the sun at some portions, and it's gotten pretty high. We're looking into where the drainage is, where the sewers are, where the infiltration is coming. So we're doing a lot more to kind of manage the water flow from that portion of the landfill down into the residential area. So just stay tuned. As we get more information, I'll certainly put that out for everybody. I think that's all I had this week. It was kind of a quiet couple of weeks. So thank you. What's that? That's
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you, Mr. Mylum. Mayor?
Yeah, a couple of things. Lindsay, you did it now. All your enthusiasm, now you're going to be in charge of the committee, so congratulations. Jason, it's my honor to work with you. You're very knowledgeable, and I couldn't proceed in the direction that we are without your support. So I want to thank you. It's always our pleasure to work with you. And Natalie, the gardens, I had to meet with you. It was great. I appreciate it. Again, your enthusiasm, you just can't beat it. It's fantastic. Thank you. I do have a couple things, and this one here is really hard to say, and I'm just going to come out and say it. A good friend of mine, my hunting partner, my assistant, your friend, your ex-mayor, has cancer, very bad right now. He's gone through 2 chemo already, 2 chemotherapy operations or concerns already, and he's taking it pretty bad. His body's beat up pretty good. I want what's best for Ron. I'm sure you would want what's best for Ron. Ron is my best friend. And I will say this, he's a fighter, he's a soldier at heart, and Ron won't quit. What are you doing here? I'm here. I'm not going to fail you. You're not going to fail me. Please go home, see your family, be with your family. I talked to his family. They want him out of the house. They want him at work. And so we're calling a little snafu here, but I want to let you know that Ron is working from both at home and he's working from work when he can come in. He's got another chemotherapy left, and he goes through 3 more again. And then they do another inspection of where it's at. It's traveled to other parts of his body now. So it's very serious. The reason why I'm mentioning it to you tonight, because to me, it puts things into perspective. It really does. And I want what's best for Ron. And right now, the best that we can do as a community is keep him in your prayers. That's what I'm asking tonight. Please keep Mr. Ron Pelosi in your prayers. And that's all I'm gonna talk about.
Thank you, Mayor. Ron Pelosi has been a dear family friend of ours for decades. I'm sitting here looking, trying not to look at my dad so I don't get emotional, but we've known the Pelosi's forever, from the days that my dad was a bartender at Warren's and working with Chris. So it's heartbreaking to hear, and certainly Ron and his family is in our thoughts and prayers. And just looking out in the gallery, he's impacted so many lives, and so please keep him in his thoughts and prayers. And I may be overstepping here, but if anybody wishes to send a card, a thinking of you card, please send it to the mayor's office, and I'm sure they will get it to him. So keep fighting, Ron, and you're in our thoughts and prayers. I'd like to thank Lindsay for her presentation this evening, and we will certainly have a resolution on April 5th naming a playground committee, so you can certainly expect your name on that resolution. But I think there's great opportunities for the city to pursue, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. I'd like to thank the Charter Review Commission for meeting with us this evening. Looking forward to more information from them, and I appreciate their hard work. I know how much time has gone into this. The council will be meeting with our LDC on the 15th of March, so please tune in. Then I'm looking forward to meeting with the LDC. And it's nice to see the Senior Citizen Center open in the evenings on Tuesday. I'd like to thank, everybody for the senior citizens for all that they're doing to keep that center hopping. I know they prepared 80+ meals last week, so it was great to see a lot of the seniors. And I just, want to go back to our administrative assistant, our former mayor. I had an opportunity to meet with him last week, and man, he's one tough cookie. So his spirits are high. And he knows that he's in the thoughts and prayers of everybody. I wanted to end on that. And with that said, as a reminder, Green Beer Sunday is Sunday. So with that said, if everybody could just keep the Pelosi family and Ron in your thoughts and prayers. And I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nocera. All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night, everybody.
At this time, we'll be ending the Zoom call. Thank you again for taking your time to be on the call, and next meeting will be on
Yeah, Wednesday, I was gonna ask you when to do.
March 15th.
I gotta put it together. I've got a better platform, a template to work with. Actually, got it from Barb Tucker. Who used to write for the